Chapter 5. The Republic of Dalal Street. Dalal Street of 1980s and early 1990s was the financial market equivalent of Wild West. Insider trading by companies in collusion with brokers and market operators was rampant. In fact, it did not even strike the companies that their trading practices were illegal, as there was nothing in the law that forbade them from keeping up their practices. As for the brokers, many were known to regularly front-run their big clients or cheat on the rates at which they would execute orders in the ring. Brokers would confirm their trades only at the end of the day, so they would claim to have sold at prices close to the lowest price of the day and bought at levels close to the highest price of the day. This way, they would pay less money to the client who sold the shares through them and take more money from clients who bought shares from them. With the entry of the National Stock Exchange (NSE) and the introduction of screen-based trading in 1994, this practice ended, as clients could verify what prices their shares were traded off. In the pre-NSE days too, brokers had to adhere to rules specified by the stock exchanges, but in reality, these rules were frequently violated. Non-payment of margin money to the exchanges, violations of trading restrictions, and reluctance to submit data on prices and volumes in transparent manner were common. BSE, for instance, was supposed to audit the books of broker members, but this was rarely done, and even when it was peremptory exercise. There was no proper mechanism to address the grievances of investors. Influential brokers got a free run because the governing board of the stock exchange was packed with broker members. On paper, the stock exchange was answerable to the Ministry of Finance, but the government nominees rarely attended meetings of the governing board. In effect, the exchange was controlled by a clique of influential brokers to such an extent that many joked that BSE was an abbreviation for Brokers' Stock Exchange and not of Bombay Stock Exchange. Naturally, disciplinary action against erring members was rare. Occasionally, a broker would be penalized, but the fines were insignificant. Cartel wars in a stock were quite common at the time and usually saw the Marwari brokers arrayed on one side and the Gujarati brokers on the other. One group would take a bullish view on a stock and other would try its best to hammer the price of that stock down. Having friends in the stock exchange governing board or in the company helped tilt the balance of power. Bulls could be caught on the wrong foot if the stock exchange suddenly increased the margin on buy trades, and bears could be trapped by a sudden wave of buying, usually by players funded by company promoters. India was still a closed economy then, and stock market players did not look beyond the stocks whose companies they had an interest usually vested in. My jobbing skills were steadily improving, and in a good month I would take home close to rupees 10,000. Occasionally, I ended up annoying some of the big players of the game. Once, Manubhai Manik asked me to buy a block of shares of a certain stock. It so happened that his son-in-law, who set a few offices away from Manik's, wanted to sell a block of the same lot. I got him the block he wanted and charged him the usual brokerage of 1.5%. A few days later, Manubhai learned the identity of the seller and was miffed with me. You could have told me that my son-in-law was looking to sell that block, he told me when we bumped into each other in the ring. I grinned at him, but Manubhai was not amused. You should be called Chakku, knife. You could slit somebody's throat to earn a commission, he said. But only a week later, he made me an offer when we met in the ring. Hey Chakku, what is your boss paying you? He asked. If it had been anybody else, I might have asked him to get lost. But this was Manubhai himself, whom I had managed to get on the wrong side of once. Twice would be asking for trouble. Rupees 5,000 fixed, plus jobbing commissions, I said. You are worth much more. I will pay you rupees 15,000 plus jobbing commissions. Join me from next month, he said. Perhaps it was the tone of the proposal that put me off. It sounded more like an order than an offer, but then Manubhai was never really known to charm people. I am quite happy with what my boss is paying me right now. Besides, he gave me a job when nobody else was willing to take me on. I can't walk out on him just for some extra money, I said. He did not realize that had he been a bit more tactful, I could have easily been persuaded to cross over. After all, who would not want to work with one of the biggest names on the Dalal Street? But if he thought he could buy me out with just money, he was mistaken. Manu Bhai was a bit taken aback by my answer. I guess he was not used to being rebuffed by a jobber barely a year into the profession. Good to hear that you still treasure old world values like loyalty. Otherwise, everybody is out here to get rich quick by whatever means possible. If ever you are in need of a job, you can always call on me, he said, walking away without waiting for my response. Soon after that, he gave me a couple of decent-sized orders, which I managed to execute well. But more important than the commissions that fetched me was the relief I felt in knowing that he still thought sufficiently well of me to give me business.